I've never been what you'd call naturally lucky. I'm the kind of person who chooses the slowest line at the grocery store even if there's only one person ahead of me. So, when I landed an interview at a trendy creative agency downtown, I swore I wouldn't mess it up. I had the perfect outfit picked out, my resume printed on paper so fancy it nearly had a scent, and I left home with more time than necessary. I was ready. What I wasn't ready for was a building with two entrances, both labeled with the same street address, separated only by a small side alley and a few too many potted plants. I chose the one on the left. Why? Because a man in a headset was standing by the door and waved at me like he was expecting someone. Spoiler, he was. "You're the photographer, right?" he asked. I blinked. My brain stuttered. Yeah, I said, because my mouth is faster than my judgment. "You're late, but no worries. We're about to start the ceremony. Just follow me." My body followed him before my brain caught up. Photographer? I was supposed to be interviewing for a junior copywriter role. But here I was, being ushered through a set of double doors and into a venue filled with white chairs, hanging ivy, and a small crowd of very well-dressed people. My instincts screamed to run. But then I saw her, the bride. She looked radiant and blissfully unaware that the person meant to capture the most important day of her life had apparently not shown up. Or rather, I had. There was a camera bag near the side of the stage. It looked lonely. I made a decision that I still don't fully understand. I picked it up. I turned it on. And I started taking photos. Not because I knew what I was doing, but because no one else seemed to be doing it, and everyone thought I was supposed to be there. I figured I could fake it. Point. Click. Repeat. Keep smiling and hope the memory card was large enough to hold my panic. And honestly, I was kind of crushing it. The lighting was good. People were emotional, and cameras today practically take the photo for you, right? Right. After the vows, a bridesmaid gave me a thumbs up. One of the groomsmen handed me a champagne flute. "You're a ninja," he said. "Didn't even see you half the time." "That's the goal," I replied, like I'd said it 1,000 times. Somewhere between the first dance and the cake cutting, I realized I hadn't thought about my interview once. I was too busy capturing moments I had no business witnessing, and yet, I didn't want to leave. I told myself I'd explain everything once the night was over. But then someone handed me an envelope. From the couple, they said. "Thanks again. You saved the day." Inside, $500 in cash. I stared at it, stunned. I had just been paid to crash a wedding. To be continued. I stood there under a string of fairy lights, holding a white envelope stuffed with more cash than I'd seen since my last tax refund, wondering if I had just accidentally changed careers. The DJ was launching into his third Bruno Mars set of the evening. Guests were slow dancing or sipping wine on the patio. I, meanwhile, was leaning against a decorative column, sweating through my very much not photographer shirt and processing the surreal turn my day had taken. This morning, I was nervously reviewing interview questions about branding tone. Now, I was a beloved wedding vendor, except I wasn't. I considered telling someone, maybe the wedding planner, or at least the DJ, who kept giving me approving nods. But every time I opened my mouth, someone interrupted. "Can we get one more photo of the cousins?" Or, "Hey, you have to get a shot of Grandma doing the worm." At one point, the bride herself hugged me. "I know it was last minute," she said, her mascara lightly smudged in a charming, champagne-fueled way. "But you were amazing. Thank you for stepping in." I smiled, swallowed my confession, and snapped a picture of her with her new in-laws under a cascade of sparklers. I told myself I'd explain everything in a heartfelt email. "You know, once I figured out how to word, 'Hi, I accidentally impersonated your wedding photographer, but I really hope your memories are still intact.'" At the end of the night, I returned the camera to the case I'd found it in, left it with the wedding planner, who gave me a slice of cake and a wink, and slipped out quietly like the world's most awkward superhero. My phone buzzed as I reached the street. New voicemail. From the actual creative agency. My heart did a weird hop skip. I'd completely ghosted my job interview. Panic hit. What if I'd blown it? I walked 3 blocks before I dared to listen. "Hi, this is Danny from Studio North. We were hoping everything was okay. Your interview was at 2, and we didn't hear from you. If you're still interested, we'd love to reschedule." I stood there in my wrinkled slacks, icing smudged on my sleeve, holding a stack of cash I absolutely didn't earn the way I intended to, and laughed. I was in trouble, but I also had another chance. Maybe more than one. The next morning, I woke up with a sugar hangover, a wrinkled dress shirt on the floor, and $500 in an envelope beside my keys. For a split second, I forgot what had happened. Then it all came rushing back. The mistaken identity, the camera, the compliments, the cash, the cake. I sat up slowly, rubbed my temples, and muttered, "You really photographed a wedding yesterday." Kevin, my houseplant, not the dog from the last story, tragically, looked at me with his usual judgmental leaf tilt. "Don't start," I said. I made coffee, sat on the couch, and listened again to the voicemail from Studio North. "We'd love to reschedule." They hadn't written me off. I hadn't missed the boat. There was still a real job, one that didn't involve pretending to be someone else, on the table. I took a deep breath and emailed Danny back. Subject: my apologies, hoping for a second chance. "Hi Danny. I owe you an explanation. Yesterday got unexpectedly chaotic on my end, and I'm genuinely sorry for the no-show. I'd still love the opportunity to interview if you're open to rescheduling. Best, me." I sent it and immediately stared at my inbox like it owed me closure. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Then I got up, made toast, stared at the toast like it might whisper encouragement. Finally, a reply pinged in. "No worries. These things happen. Can you do tomorrow at 11 a.m.? Relief. Hope. Slight panic." I typed back a quick yes and tried to recalibrate my brain from accidental wedding crasher to prospective employee. I even Googled, can photographers be sued for impersonation if everyone ends up happy? Not the most reassuring search results, for the record. The next day, I dressed properly, same blazer, no camera bag, and showed up to the correct building. This time, there were no fairy lights, no champagne, and no one handed me an envelope full of cash. But there was Danny, kind and professional, shaking my hand in a glass-walled conference room. "Glad you made it," she said with a smile. "So, tell me, what's one situation where you've had to improvise under pressure?" I blinked. Then I smiled. I had so many answers. I paused for just a second, enough to consider the truth, the whole truth, and the extremely edited version of the truth. Danny sat across from me, pen in hand, friendly but clearly sharp. She was the kind of person who'd worked with enough creative types to spot a rehearsed story from a mile away. So I did something risky. I told her the actual story. Mostly. "Well," I said slowly, "yesterday I was walking into what I thought was this building. But I went through the wrong entrance and somehow ended up at a wedding." She raised an eyebrow. I kept going. "Someone mistook me for the photographer. There was some confusion, and I sort of went with it. Temporarily. Just until I could figure out what was going on." "You accidentally shot a wedding?" "I accidentally shot a really nice wedding. Good lighting, great energy, strong vows." She blinked. Then she laughed. Like, really laughed. That is, hands down, the best answer I've ever gotten to that question. "I didn't plan it," I said, "and I don't make a habit of crashing events. But people needed someone to step up. So I did. And weirdly, I didn't hate it." The interview went on from there. Portfolio talk, campaign questions, a brainstorming scenario. I found my rhythm. Not the fake it till you make it kind. The actual, honest, "I'm good at this and maybe I deserve a shot" kind. When it wrapped, Danny shook my hand again. "We'll be in touch soon," she said. That was memorable. As I left, I felt something I hadn't expected, pride. Not just because I hadn't crashed this meeting, but because I'd owned up to the thing that almost made me bail entirely. I walked back into the sunshine, thinking, maybe it's okay that I fumbled into this mess. Maybe that mess is the beginning of something. Later that night, I got a text. Unknown number. "Hey, this is Lindsay, the bride. Got your number from the planner. Just wanted to say thank you again for everything. The photos are amazing. Seriously, you saved our day." I stared at it. The photos. I hadn't even looked at them. It hit me like a cold glass of sparkling water to the face. I hadn't looked at a single photo I took at the wedding. Not one. I'd snapped blindly, prayed the camera wasn't on some complicated manual setting, and disappeared into the night like a reverse heist. Now the bride was texting me to say they were amazing. Either I was the luckiest imposter on earth, or the world's nicest couple had exceptionally low standards. Curious and mildly horrified, I grabbed my laptop and plugged in the SD card I'd taken from the camera. Yes, I had taken it. Not on purpose. It was still in my pocket when I left, tucked inside a little case with a tiny post-it note on it that said, "Backup, reception only." I'd meant to return it, but somehow that had taken a backseat to panicking and eating leftover cake. The files loaded slowly. I braced myself. First shot, slightly crooked, but full of emotion, the bride and her father, walking down the aisle. His face was misty, proud. Her smile was pure joy. I blinked. Next shot, the couple laughing mid-vow. A tear rolling down the groom's cheek. The light catching her earrings just right. Shot after shot, moment after moment, they were good. Like, actually good. The kind of photos you see framed in homes, sent out in thank you cards. I stared at the screen, stunned. I'd been winging it so hard I hadn't stopped to realize maybe I wasn't winging it at all. I texted Lindsay back. Wow, thank you. I'm so glad they turned out well. I still have the backup card with the reception pics. Want me to drop it off? She replied instantly. Yes, please. And seriously, everyone keeps asking for your info. We told them you were a last-minute hero. Can I give them your number? I froze. My number. My fake job. My new, mysterious reputation as the photographer who saved the day. I typed, sure. Happy to help. Then I sat there, heart pounding, staring at the screen. Was I a wedding photographer now? By the next morning, my phone had become some kind of wedding hotline. Texts, DMs, even a voicemail from someone named Carla who wanted to know if I did destination ceremonies. I hadn't even decided if I did regular ceremonies, let alone ones requiring flights and passports. It was flattering. It was wild. It was also terrifying. I'd just gotten through an interview at a legit creative agency, one I still hadn't heard back from, and now I was being asked about lighting packages and engagement shoots. I hadn't picked up a real camera since high school yearbook club. My current resume didn't even list photography as a hobby. And yet, there I was, Googling how much do freelance wedding photographers make, like I just stumbled into a side quest with serious income potential. I texted Carmen, my best friend, who always talks me off cliffs. Me. So, slight development. Remember the wedding? People now think I'm a real photographer. Carmen, you are now. That's how careers start. Accidental excellence. Ride the wave. Me. I'm not even sure I know how to properly use a DSLR. Carmen, you did it once. Do it again. Or fake it again. Either way, it's working. Part of me wanted to push the whole thing away. Go back to waiting on a clean, comfortable office job where the only thing I had to shoot was ideas during brainstorming sessions. But another part of me, the one that had felt oddly confident during the reception, snapping shots of laughing guests and clinking glasses, was curious. What if I could do both? That afternoon, I called Lindsay. Hey, I just wanted to thank you again for the kind words, I said. And make sure you got the reception backup. Oh, I did, she replied. Honestly, they're better than the earlier shots. You've got a gift. I didn't know what to say. That means a lot. I actually have a friend getting married next month. Totally casual, small backyard thing. She's looking for someone low-key but creative. Can I connect you? A silence stretched in my kitchen as I stared at the coffee pot, considering the offer. Sure, I said finally. Send her my way. I had officially accepted my second gig. I told myself it was just a one-time thing. A favor. A fluke. A lucky extension of a ridiculous weekend. But when I showed up to that backyard wedding, camera borrowed from a friend of a friend, fully charged and terrifyingly expensive, I realized something. I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Or at least ready-ish. The bride, Chelsea, was Lindsay's college roommate. She hugged me at the door like I was a long-lost cousin and immediately introduced me as the genius who saved our entire wedding. No pressure or anything. The venue was charming, twinkle lights, picnic tables, mason jars full of flowers that somehow looked intentionally rustic instead of lazy. I did a few test shots while pretending I knew what all the camera settings meant. ISO, aperture, white balance, sounded like an indie band, but I was getting there. As guests arrived, I moved through the crowd with a mix of awkward grace and pure adrenaline. Smile. Snap. Adjust. Capture. Somehow, it worked. My instincts were sharper than I thought. A laugh here, a head tilt there. A kiss caught perfectly with sun rays bouncing off someone's sunglasses. It felt less like faking and more like discovering something I didn't know was mine. The ceremony was quick, personal, sweet. Chelsea and her partner read vows about coffee mugs and quiet Tuesday mornings. It was intimate and unpretentious and real. I found myself choking up as I clicked the shutter, which, I guess, made for some pretty honest framing. I didn't just document their wedding, I felt it. And when it was over, and people clapped and hugged and turned toward the cake table, I stepped aside and stared at the photos I'd just taken. They were good. No, better than good. They were true. The kind of images you don't pose for because the moment is too busy being beautiful. After the bouquet toss, which hit a light fixture and turned into a hilarious midair rescue, Chelsea gave me an envelope and whispered, "Thank you again. You've got something." When I got home, I opened it. Inside, $300. And a note. "You should really keep doing this." I sat on my couch with the envelope in one hand and the note in the other, staring at both like they might evaporate if I blinked. My second wedding. My second payment. My second round of people telling me I was doing something I hadn't actually planned to do. That was the twist. None of this had been intentional. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was forcing a career path to make sense. It just made sense on its own. I uploaded the photos, organized the folders, and even found myself editing with more care than usual. The little things, the curve of a smile, the twinkle of an earring, felt important in a way I hadn't noticed before. I was becoming that person. The kind who cropped gently, balanced tones, even tried out a Lightroom preset called June Magic. Not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because I actually liked it. A few days later, I got a reply from Studio North, the creative agency I'd originally applied to. Danny's name popped into my inbox with a short but very polite message. "Thank you for your time and story during the interview. We've gone a different direction, but we appreciated your creativity." Oof. Rejection emails are like paper cuts. Small, but they sting longer than they should. I read it twice, sighed, and closed my laptop. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hi. My sister said you photographed her backyard wedding and she can't stop raving. Are you available in October?" And just like that, the universe offered a Band-Aid. A big, floral-printed, wedding-shaped Band-Aid. I didn't even hesitate. I typed back, "Yes, I'm available. Would love to chat details." 3 months ago, I would have begged for that job at Studio North. I would have rearranged my entire life for it. Now, I was turning my living room into a part-time editing suite and researching cameras I couldn't afford yet. I even made a website. Just a basic one. Black and white. Clean font. A single sentence on the homepage. Sometimes the best moments are the unplanned ones. It felt true. And that's when Carmen called me, her voice breathless. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "Remember that first wedding you accidentally shot? Yeah, the planner just tagged you in a post." I opened Instagram. The caption read, "Incredible talent. Totally saved the day. Follow at the Wedding Crasher Photog for pure magic." They gave me a name. I stared at my phone, thumb hovering above the screen. At the Wedding Crasher Photog. There it was. A public tag from the original wedding planner, complete with a glowing caption and a carousel of my photos. The bride mid-laugh, the groom tearing up, a candid of the flower girl attempting a cartwheel in formal wear. My photos. Out there. Being praised. Not under someone else's brand. Not in an email attachment. Mine. Within an hour, I gained 60 new followers. By the end of the day, that number tripled. A few DMs rolled in. One from a couple getting married in Vermont. Another from someone planning a city hall ceremony with a dinner for 12 afterward. "We're not fancy," one message read. "We just want someone who can catch the real stuff. We loved your vibe." My vibe. That was new. Meanwhile, Carmen was losing her mind in our group chat. "Carmen, you're literally building a brand by accident, and it's better than half the people I know trying to be influencers." Me. "It's not a brand. It's barely a landing page." Carmen. "Okay, but the landing page has bookings." She wasn't wrong. By the weekend, I'd shot my third wedding. This time in a small barn with string lights and a best man speech that made me cry so hard I forgot to take pictures for a full 30 seconds. The couple gave me a loaf of homemade sourdough in addition to payment and told me I was part of the family now. I posted a few preview shots that night. They blew up. Comments like, "OMG, this feels like a movie," and "I wish you were at our wedding" flooded in. But something else happened too. Studio North liked the post. Just a quiet little double tap. A week later, another notification, a DM. From Danny. "Hey, we saw your work. Congrats on everything. Funny question. Would you ever be open to doing brand lifestyle shoots? We're starting a campaign that's all about capturing real joy." I reread the message 5 times. This time, I didn't freeze. I replied, "Let's talk." We met at a coffee shop, not the corporate kind, but the cozy corner one with latte art and mismatched mugs. Danny waved me over, smiling like this was just a casual catch-up, not the return of the agency I thought I'd lost. She had the same clipboard from our original interview, except now, instead of resumes and portfolios, it held mood boards filled with candid smiles, laughing couples, and picnic blankets under sunset light. "This is what we're building," she said, spreading the photos across the table. "Real people, real joy, unpolished, honest moments." Your name kept coming up. I blinked. "Seriously?" She nodded. "One of the brides you shot works in our strategy department. Showed us your Instagram during a brainstorm. Half the room got teary over the vows you captured in Vermont." I didn't know whether to laugh or apologize. "So, what are you thinking?" I asked, unsure if this was a second chance, a new lane, or a creative detour. "We want you," she said. "Not as a full-time hire. As a collaborator. Freelance shoots. Visual storytelling. You keep doing your wedding thing. We just want to bring that same energy to our brand." It felt surreal. Like I'd taken a wrong turn into the right version of my life. I said yes. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. One weekend I was capturing vows in a sunflower field. The next I was photographing a product launch picnic with toddlers covered in juice and marketing execs in linen shirts. It was all joy. Real, unfiltered joy. And somehow, I was the one getting paid to bottle it up in pixels. Carmen helped me redesign my website. We dropped the crasher part. Rebranded me as Simply, Unpost. 2 syllables. No pressure. Just honest photos. One night, over drinks, she raised a glass and said, "I knew you'd find your thing. I just didn't know it would involve this much burlap and barefoot dancing." I laughed. Me neither. But I meant it. Because this wasn't where I was trying to go. It was better. The gigs kept coming. Backyard weddings, city elopements, even a surprise vow renewal on a boat where I almost dropped my lens cap into the harbor. I learned how to shoot in harsh light, how to gently move people without posing them, and how to cry discreetly behind a camera when grandparents danced together to At Last. Every weekend brought a new love story. Every Monday, a new brand gig that let me photograph real humans, not models pretending to sip coffee in perfectly lit kitchens. I was living in 2 parallel timelines, and for the first time in my life, both actually made sense. Still, part of me wondered when the accidental magic would wear off. When someone would pull back the curtain and realize I'd stumbled into this entire career like a kid tripping into a talent show and somehow winning. But the emails kept coming, the tags kept piling up, and the bookings stretched months ahead. Then came the full circle moment. I got a call from Lindsay, the original bride. "We're doing a 1-year anniversary party," she said. Very low-key. Garden, food truck, music. "We'd love for you to shoot it. You were kind of the start of everything." I almost dropped my phone. I said yes before she finished asking. Walking back into that same venue a year later was like walking into a dream you thought you'd imagined. The ivy had grown thicker. The chairs were new, but the vibe was the same. I saw familiar faces. The groomsman who called me a ninja. The DJ who'd let me charge my phone behind his booth. Even the wedding planner waved and mouthed, "Look at you now." I shot the evening quietly, moving like I always had, unnoticed, intentional. This time, though, I wasn't faking it. I wasn't covering up panic with confidence. I was confident. As the party wound down, Lindsay pulled me aside. "I never told you," she said. "Our actual photographer showed up 40 minutes late. But when I saw you walking around, already snapping, already present, I told the planner, forget it. He's the one. And I'm so glad I did." I smiled, heart thudding. "You changed my life, you know." She grinned. "You crashed my wedding. Fair trade." The last shot I took that night was of Lindsay and her husband, barefoot on the grass, laughing mid-toast while holding hands under string lights. It wasn't posed. It wasn't perfect. It just was. And that's what made it everything. I stood for a minute afterward, camera still in hand, watching the guests dance and sway and slowly drift toward goodbye hugs and food truck leftovers. I packed my gear, took one last look at the space that had accidentally given me a career, and stepped out into the night with a full heart and tired shoulders. Back home, I transferred the photos, half smiling as they appeared on screen. I knew exactly what I was doing now. Each click was deliberate. Each image had my fingerprint. I wasn't the accidental wedding photographer anymore. I was just a photographer. Period. That week, I updated my website with new testimonials and polished shots. I added a section called How This All Started, a short, honest story about crashing the right moment at the wrong time. People loved it. Someone even emailed to say they'd hired me because of that section. By the time fall rolled around, my calendar was booked solid. Studio North invited me to speak on a panel about creative pivots. Me, the guy who missed an interview and accidentally showed up at a wedding instead. I stood in front of a room full of aspiring designers and photographers and said, "Sometimes, your dream job is hiding behind a complete misunderstanding." They laughed, took notes. But here's the final twist. 2 months later, I got another call from someone planning a wedding. She said she'd heard about me through a friend of a friend, someone who swore I'd made their photos look like stills from a romantic film. The voice on the phone sounded vaguely familiar. "Do you photograph destination weddings?" she asked. I paused, smiling. "I do now," I said. And just like that, the career I never meant to start became the one I couldn't imagine letting go of.